What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Podcast 125. This is our playoff predictions episode. I'm welcomed, of course, as always, by Mr. Jake Stinchcomb on my right and Mr. Tyler Vaughn below us. Fellas, how are y'all doing tonight?
Good, Hunter. I'm very excited. This is our last preview episode before football on Saturday, man. But we've been working on these previews a lot, and they've taken up a lot of time over the past few weeks. But we are finally here. We are, 3 days away from football. So very exciting.
Yeah, same here. I'm ready for football season to get started, and the fact that we're filming this episode means that it's here. So I'm ready for what happens.
Just literally a few hours away, fellas, and we're going to be there. No, it's late. No, we have some teams to talk about. This is the most fun part about any preseason, getting to pick a national champion, getting to pick a Heisman winner, do all that fun jazz. So we're not going to waste any more time. Jake, tell them about the social media.
Yeah, go follow us on our socials. We're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, we're on TikTok. We post these videos on YouTube. We appreciate you guys tuning in on our socials, liking and commenting, reposting, subscribing. Continue to do that. Spread the word. Send it to a friend. We really appreciate that. We've been putting in as much work as we can with our busy schedules, the three of us. So we appreciate it, and I think it's time to dive right in.
Yeah, and we got a lot to get into, so without further ado, here is Mr. Jake Stinchcomb's playoff bracket.
Yep, here we go. I'm going to dive right into it. Top three teams, notably the first three out. I have Alabama, Oregon, and Notre Dame not on this playoff bracket. This was very hard to do, but I'm just not sold on each of their quarterback situations. I think they're all good rosters. Tougher schedule for Notre Dame than it has been in the past. Oregon, I think they dropped a few games they're not supposed to and finished 9-3. And Bama, I just don't think it's going to work out with Kalen DeBoer. I'm not a believer in that. I think he was put in an impossible position to live up to the Nick Saban expectations. So those are my first three out. Very hard to do. This was very hard to pick and choose after we finished the schedules and the conference previews, who goes where, and seeding and all that. So I'm going to dive right in. I'll go 1 through 12. Number 1 seed, the Big Ten champion, Penn State. Number 2, SEC champion, Georgia Bulldogs. Number 3, the Big Ten runner-up, I got the Ohio State Buckeyes. Number 4, the SEC runner-up, LSU. Those are the 4 teams I have with the bye. Number 5, I got Miami Hurricanes as my ACC champ. Number 6, Clemson, ACC runner-up. 7th seed, I have Texas at 10-2. Number 8, I have Arizona State, the Big 12 champion. Number 9, Ole Miss at 10-2. Number 10, Illinois, also going 10-2. Number 11, I got Washington with a big marquee win over Oregon week 12 to sneak in the playoff at the 11th seed. And my G5 team is Tulane, the Green Wave. I think they've been close, and they slip in this year. So, yeah, that's my 12 teams I got. Very hard to do. I left some blue bloods out of it, but that's why we do it. We're making predictions. College football is crazy. We saw crazy last year, and I think it's even crazier this year. And I think on the next slide, I'll have the final picture, the final art. So we'll start here. Arizona and Ole Miss facing off in the first round. I got Arizona State winning to play Penn State. I think Penn State wins and advances to the Final Four. And then I have Miami boat racing Tulane to face LSU, and LSU winning that one to advance to the Final Four to play Penn State. LSU, Penn State in the Final Four. I have Penn State winning that one. Both of those coaches can't win a big game, so I feel like this is one of those games. If they do match up, both of these teams it's gonna look like they're both trying to lose. So I have Penn State advancing the national championship. Kind of chalk, but I think they have the most complete team in college football this year. On the right side of the bracket, Illinois travels to Texas, and I think Luke Altmaier and Brett Bielema and one of the most experienced teams in the country take over the state of Texas and take down Texas in round 1 to advance to round 2. This is probably the craziest pick I've ever made in my life, but I was telling the boys pre-show, I am lost in sauce with the Illinois. The team. It's unreal. I'm just drunk on them right now. It's insane. I'm riding the high, and I'm all in on Illinois. I got them going to the second round playing Georgia, and the love story ends there. Georgia advances to the semifinals, and then I have Washington traveling to Clemson. Tough matchup here for Washington. I think if this were to happen, this would be a very hard matchup for them. Clemson winning, advancing to play Ohio State. I think Ohio State sitting on the couch for 2 weeks. I don't know how Ryan Day would be prepared for that. So I'll take Clemson to advance to play Georgia in the Final Four. And Georgia beats Clemson. We own Clemson. Kirby Smart has owned Clemson over the past few years. So Georgia advances the national championship. And my 2025 national champion, the Georgia Bulldogs. This was my philosophy, and I told Hunter and Tyler this before the show. Everybody and their mamas picking 3 teams: Penn State, Clemson, and LSU. And I had all 3 of those teams in the Final Four along with Georgia. And I don't think I know I'm a homer, and I'm a diehard Georgia Bulldogs fan. But they're not being talked about enough. I think too many people are questioning Gunnar Stockton and what he can do. And to be honest, he doesn't have to do much. I think this team definitely makes it to the Final Four. And I got him win the national championship. I'll take Kirby Smart over James Franklin in the Natty. And give me the Dogs to win it all.
All right, Jake. For anybody that does like to gamble money at home, the biggest lock on this board is Illinois under 7.5 wins, if you know Jake Stinchcomb. So just go ahead and lock that in. I know I will personally be taking place in that after this show is over, and I will happily send a screenshot in the group chat that Illinois is winning less than 8 games this year.
Probably a good wager. I would take that. Also probably take the under on Miami too. I'm probably too high on them as well, but
I will say, Jake, this is a solid bracket because it's not straight chalk 1 through 12. You got Ole Miss, you got Arizona State. I think Miami's not a chalk pick. Obviously, you got the whole Illinois thing, and you got Washington, but you still have the Texas, the Georgia, the Ohio State. I think it's a solid mix. So, and you're probably going to see a little bit of similarity, but also a solid amount of difference in mine right now. Like Jake mentioned, this was so difficult. I just thought, especially with the new seeding format, it's not the top 5 or the conference champions get the first 5 or the first 4 seeds and the buys, and then the G5 team. And like seed 6 through 11 gave me a migraine earlier. I just sat there. I'm like, I don't know if it plays out, which we all know I'm going to be 100% right, obviously not. But if it were to play out in a situation like this, I don't know how the committee would rank these teams. So I just kind of shot from the hip. We'll start 1 through 12. Number 1, I also have the Penn State Nittany Lions. I think they're going to win the Big Ten, and they'll be the number 1 overall seed at 12-1. Number 2, I have the Alabama Crimson Tide. I think they're going to go 12-1, win the SEC. Number 3, Clemson, ACC champ, 11-1. Pretty self-explanatory. And this is where it got interesting for me because Texas, Clemson, who are they going to favor? I don't know. Flip a coin. I think one's 4, one's 5 because the committee has made it very much so known that they value conference championship games. So I don't think these 2 teams or whoever plays in the SEC and the Big Ten championship game, winner or loser, I don't foresee those teams getting punished dramatically. So that's how I ended up with Texas at number 4 at 10-3, SEC runner-up, and Oregon 10-3, Big Ten runner-up. Number 6, I got Notre Dame. I almost left them out completely. It was so hard to find the right spot to put them in. I have them going 10-2. I feel like both of their losses are going to come early on in the season, and this is something I mentioned to Jake and Tyler before the show started, was that the earlier your losses, the better you'll probably get seeded. That's just how I had it. I think Notre Dame loses a little bit earlier on in the season. I do have them dropping a home game in Texas A&M, whereas their opponent in the bottom right corner at the 11th seed, I have Ohio State, with them losing to Michigan in the season. So when they lose to Michigan, I still think they get in, but I think it's going to plummet them with that last loss, and these other teams who might finish 10-2 get bumped above them. That's just the way I saw it. Number 7, I got Washington, 10-2. I have them beating Ohio State at home, Julian Sands' first road start, and then I have them at beating Oregon and Dante Moore at home to finish the year, 10-2. And you might ask, how does Oregon get the tiebreaker? I don't know. I ran it through a simulation, and that's what it spit out, Penn State versus Oregon. So that's what we're going to roll with. Number 8, Oklahoma Sooners, Tyler Vaughn's favorite team. If you listen to the SEC preview, I have them going 10-2. Got them beating Texas this year. I know it's weird. I got Oklahoma with the head-to-head over Texas and Washington with the head-to-head over Oregon, yet they're both ranked below them. Like I said, I think it just really comes down to who plays in the conference championship game. And since these teams have to play an extra week, I don't see the committee dropping them down below a top 5 seed. That's how I ended up there. Number 9, I got my Big 12 champs, the Utah Utes, and Devon Dampier, not exactly sure. Number 10, I got Georgia. I put them at 10 because I have a common opponent in Georgia and Oklahoma, both playing Texas. I had Oklahoma beating Texas. I had Georgia losing to Texas. So that's how I came to that conclusion. And then number 11, as previously mentioned, the 10-2 Ohio State Buckeyes. And my full bracket reveals. We'll start at the top left. I got Oklahoma at home beating Utah, and then they get a trip to play Penn State at a neutral site. I think Penn State gets it done. Oregon playing, I forgot to mention my 12 seed, Tulane, also known as Julane. Shout out Ryan Gretzloff, the new quarterback at Tulane. I think John Summerall is the next Kurt Signetti. This guy was successful at Troy, makes the move up to Tulane. They didn't miss a beat. I think that they've been knocking on that door, and everybody and their brothers picking Boise State. I think Tulane, especially late down that stretch, once Gretzloff, I know he came in late. After they get through those tough non-con games, I think they're going to be hitting on all cylinders. I got them winning the American, and I got Boise State dropping a few games, so I got them in. With that being said, they're going to go on the road to Eugene and get that ass smacked. And then got Texas, the 4 seed, playing Oregon. I like Sark in this spot over Dan Lanning. I got the Longhorns advancing to the national semifinals. I've got Georgia going on the road to Washington. I got to pick Kirby Smart, right? Washington, a little bit younger team, younger coaching staff, not as experienced in these spots. This is a Georgia spot. And like I said in my SEC preview, I think Georgia, by that late October, early November, with the exception of the Texas game that they could easily win and that they probably will win since I said they were going to lose it, they're going to be rolling on all cylinders by this time. So I got Georgia beating Washington. They get a trip with their biggest kryptonite, the Alabama Crimson Tide, who they've only beat once in like the past bajillion years since I've been alive. I do have Georgia winning this game. I gave Alabama the regular season matchup, so I'm taking Georgia to beat them in the playoff. Bottom right, got 6-seeded Notre Dame taking on 11-seed Ohio State national championship rematch. I'll take the coaching staff that's been in these spots a little bit more. No, it's on the road. I'll take a more talented team in Ohio State over Notre Dame. And then I have Ohio State taking on Clemson, which I swear they played in the Orange Bowl or the Fiesta Bowl 6 times in our childhoods just growing up. And I'm going to take Dabo to beat Ryan Day yet again. I like Cade Klubnik a lot this year. So give me the Tigers. So my Final Four is Penn State, Texas, Georgia, Clemson. Georgia already having to play 2 games against a Washington team on the road and then having to play a physical Alabama team. And then they're having to take on Clemson. I like Clemson in this spot. I know Georgia's owned them. I know Kirby's had Dabo's number since getting to Georgia. But with that being said, I'm taking the team with, in my opinion right now, on paper, a better defense. I think they potentially have 3 or 4 of the top 10 picks in the NFL draft off the defense. I'm going to take the better and more experienced quarterback. everything's pointing to take Georgia in this spot, yet I'm taking Clemson. And then I'll take the more experienced team and the Penn State Nittany Lions at quarterback, at running back, offensive line, you name it. I'm taking Penn State to beat Texas. And in my national championship, as you can see, I didn't put a champion because I do think this is going to be a national championship game. Genuinely, I had to have it play out this way. These are my two favorite teams entering in this season. I don't know which one to choose from. Jake, would you mind? I'm going to flip a coin. Would you call it in the air for me?
Yep.
So in this situation, Penn State's the 1 seed. So they'd be heads. Clemson's going to be tails. Jake, you call it in the air.
Well, how does that work? If that might not work.
In the air.
I don't have to call it in the air. You should just flip the coin or whatever it lands on.
It's heads or tails.
I mean, I'd love to call it in the air, but
can you still just call it in the air because I said
I'll call it in the air.
Whether
I'll call it in the air.
It's not going to have an effect on anything, but
I'll call it in the air for the extra shots.
I want it for the
Yeah, I'd love to.
Just need it, yeah. All right.
Give me heads.
It was heads.
So
that means I got the Penn State Nittany Lions win the 2025 national championship.
There we go.
Anybody that says James Franklin can't win the big one, well, neither could Kirby Smart. He couldn't beat Nick Saban for the longest time. He finally did. Clemsoning was a thing for the longest time. Dabo rattled off 2 more. So nobody ever wins a big one until they do. Penn State.
Good stuff, Hunter.
Oh, yeah. Do you have anything to say? Or just
no, most notably, I'd like to two things I thought about. One, LSU not being in there. Felt like that was pretty interesting.
Oh, yeah. I did need to touch up on that. Good call. So I had 3 teams that I really wanted, or 2 teams I really wanted to put in here, and then one like big snub. The big snub Jake mentioned, LSU. I'm just a little bit lower on them this year, and everybody on this board, I have at least winning 10 games, maybe except for Tulane, obviously. And I have LSU going 9-3. I have them 9-2 entering that last week. They go into Norman and they lose. I think the winner of that game makes the college football playoff. I think both teams will be 9-2. I'm taking the home team. That's how I landed on that. I think LSU is going to be good, but I'm a little bit lower on them than most people. The 2 teams I really wanted to put in here, but just couldn't find a spot for them. One being the Miami Hurricanes, the ACC runner-ups. Odds are they'll probably only win 8 games this year, or 9. I'd say 9's a solid number. I have them winning 10, but I see a world where the committee, they're going to look at that Notre Dame-Miami game. Right now I'm leading Notre Dame, so I put Notre Dame in there, both at 10-2. I also I have other teams taking their spots. I have that 4th SEC team, and I have the 4th Big Ten team in Oklahoma and Washington. Just my out-of-the-blue picks for this year. But I think Miami definitely could have their name up here. Then the last team I really wanted to put in here because after we released our Big 12, I kind of got hyped up on Texas Tech. But I just don't see a world where they put 2 Big 12 teams in here. I just don't. So
I'm right there with you.
That's how I landed on those. Anything else? Questions, concerns?
I like it. Good Final Four, good natty. Penn State, I think that's a solid, safe bet to win the national championship this year. Either one of those. So.
One more thing on Penn State. Ohio State and Michigan have set the precedents of what it's going to take to win a national championship in this era, and that is a returning quarterback, an experienced quarterback with playmakers around him. I like how they went out and got the kid from Syracuse in the portal. They got a few other attractions there. I know they lost Tyler Warren, but when you have the offensive line returning, veteran offensive line, and then you have 2 backs, not 1, but 2 who can start just about anywhere in the country, both can hit home runs at any point in time, and Nick Singleton and Katron Allen. Good run game, good offensive line, experienced quarterback, veteran-led team. That is what Ohio State did last year. That is what Penn State I believe, has the opportunity to do this year, and that's what Michigan did in the year of 2023. So that's how I landed on them and being so high on them this year.
Good stuff.
Mr. Vaughn, take it away.
All right, so I'll run through my seeding real quick. At the number 1 seed, I have the Big Ten champion Penn State. I've made it very clear that I'm high on them, and I think that they're going to be a really good team this year. So not much further explanation needs to be said there. Number 2 seed, I have Texas as the SEC champ. Again, I think we covered this in the SEC preview. I think that they probably have the best roster on paper right now. So I think that they're going to be very good, and I think your best 2 conferences and their champions are going to be the 1 and 2 seed. At the 3, I've got the ACC champ and Clemson. I think they go. I believe I had them undefeated, and so I think that's why they end up at the 3 seed. And then at my 4, I have the SEC runner-up LSU. I have them at, I believe, 11-2, coming into the playoff with their second loss being to Texas in the SEC title game. Again, I think that they're going to have the resume, and they're, with the straight seeding this year, I think that they're going to be ranked very highly. So as my 5 seed, I have my Big Ten runner-up, Ohio State. I know that when me and Hunter were on the Big Ten podcast or episode, Hunter looked to be a little confused whenever I said that I had Penn State beating Ohio State twice. I'm holding true to that, and I think that lands them at the 5 seed. I think it's still a very good team. They're going to be successful, but with at least 2 losses on their record, which is where I have them, I think that they fall to the number 5.
I would like to point out that you also pointed out to me while we were doing that I had Penn State beating Oregon twice, which I just found ironic. So
yeah.
I can't call you crazy.
So continuing, at my number 6, I have Alabama. I think that they finished 3rd in the SEC. A good record. I think they're going to be good this year. But through tiebreakers, they don't make the SEC title game, which I think hurts them in their seeding. So there they are at number 6. Number 7, I have my Big 12 champion, Kansas State. Again, another team that I'm very high on this year. I think that they can emerge in that crazy conference over in the Big 12 and be the representative for them. At number 8, I have Oregon. I have 4 teams from – do I have 4 teams? Maybe only 3. I think the Big Ten is obviously one of the premier conferences in the country. I think they are hang right there with the SEC to be the best. So I think it would make sense for a very good Oregon team coming out of a very good conference to get in and not be a bottom seed necessarily. So that I have them playing I know that I said this I said that I had Georgia Tech being my ACC runner-up in the preview. That has since changed. I have Miami as my runner-up, and they sneak in at the 9 seed. I've got Georgia at the 10 seed. Again, the SEC is just the SEC is the SEC. I think Georgia's going to be good. As the guys were saying, Kirby Smart knows how to win football games, and he's going to do that this year at Georgia. And then 11. So I had a little bit of a debate here. I was between Ole Miss and Illinois. I think the committee is going to view Ole Miss as give them the nod because of any kind of basically a bias is what I think. And I think that they will see them as rated higher than Illinois. I have both of them at 10-2 coming into the playoffs. So I'm giving the nod to Ole Miss there, getting them into the 11th seed. In my group of 5 team, I have UNLV. The Rebels are going to be good. I think that they have a very legit shot of winning the Mountain West, especially with Dan Mullen out there coaching them. So I've got them getting in. I know that that's kind of becoming a popular pick. I know that everything I see is either Texas State, UNLV, or Tulane. I think the Mountain West is probably the best group of 5 conference. But I see them getting in there as the highest ranked group of 5 champion. So And so here it is in all its glory with my picks. Starting from left to right, I have Oregon beating Miami. I just think that Oregon has a better team. And they're going to be they're going to host Miami. That's a long way for Miami to travel. So I've got them advancing. Ohio State will be able to handle UNLV pretty handedly. Nothing against UNLV, but they are not as good as, say, Boise State was last year to make it even a game. I think Ohio State wins that with ease. On the right side, I have Georgia advancing past Kansas State. I think that the talent on Georgia's roster is just going to be so much better than the talent on Kansas State's roster. Avery Johnson, I think he has a pretty good year, but he's not going to know what to do with an SEC defense, especially the one of the caliber of Georgia. So I've got Georgia advancing there. And on the bottom, I do have Alabama beating Ole Miss. Again, this comes down to roster talent. I think Ole Miss is going to be good, but I think, like I believe Jake said this, I think that Alabama probably has a top 5 roster in college football. So I have them advancing. Staying on the right side, going back to the top, Georgia's going to play Texas in a rematch from the regular season. I do have Texas winning the regular season match. However, Georgia got them twice last year. I don't think Sark really has an answer for Georgia, and it's hard to beat a team twice in one season unless you're Penn State. So I have Georgia advancing past Texas. Then we go to the Clemson and Alabama game. I feel like we've seen this happen a million times in the playoffs, especially. I've got Clemson advancing. I think they have a more sure thing at quarterback and a more sure thing overall. I believe in Dabo more than I do Kalen DeBoer, so I've got Clemson making it into the semifinals. Moving back to the left, I've got Penn State beating Oregon. I think Penn State, I've been very high on them. Like I've said numerous times, I think they're the best team in college football this year, the most complete roster. So I have them moving on, and I have LSU beating Ohio State. I'm high on LSU. I think that Garrett Nussmeier is a stud, and you'll hear a little bit more of that later. But I have LSU advancing, just being able to outpower Ohio State. So in the semis, I have Penn State taking down LSU. Again, not much more I need to say there. I think that Penn State is. I'm so high on them. I think James Franklin's finally gonna get his shot and get the one that he deserves. And then Georgia versus Clemson. I do have Clemson advancing. I know that we kind of talked about how Kirby Smart has kind of owned Dabo. But I think that Cade Klubnik has the experience over Gunner in this spot, and I'm going to give it to him. I think that he gets it done. So I have a Clemson versus Penn State national title game, and I think James Franklin gets his ring. So I have Penn State winning the national title. I think they have like I said, the most put together roster in the country. They're locked and loaded. They're ready to go. Drew Aller, I'm expecting a big year out of him as well. But it's not really just about Drew Aller in this scenario. It's about their whole team. Like I said, they are very put together. They have a complete roster of studs. I mean, they're going to be very good. So I have them winning the whole thing, and James Franklin gets it done.
Good picks. Great picks, Tyler.
I think Tyler has like the prettiest, safest, smartest, best bracket out of the three of us. I don't know if you will agree with me on that, but I think it's pretty. I think it's clean. I think it's not like, it's just, I love the look of it.
Chalky.
Well, the
chalky, but like safe also. Like, you don't have no crazy shit like me and Hunter do, like Washington and Illinois making the freaking playoff.
Yeah, like the craziest teams on here, Ole Miss and Miami, who both have pretty solid playoff odds. So where there's no long shots like me, Oklahoma and Washington. I did think about a few hypotheticals. Could you imagine those boys from Miami traveling to Eugene in December in that cold weather?
Yeah.
Also, what would the point spread be on Georgia versus Kansas State in the first round?
Like Georgia 13.5.
I was thinking like Georgia 16.5 or something.
Yeah. At least 2 scores.
Nuts. What would be the
And Ohio State would be favored by 27.5 against UNLV.
Yeah.
Oh me, great picks, guys. And this is what we do. We come out here and we make stupid takes, except for Tyler, who last year wasn't even on camera and
had the best bracket. Come on,
the most accurate bracket out of the three of us. How about that? So, moving on, the Heisman Trophy, the most talked about award in all of football, the MVP for the college football season. We did a winner, we did some finalists, and then I figured let's throw some honorable mentions on there. Jake, talk to me about Garrett Nussmeier.
Yeah, I've taken Garrett Nussmeier as my winner of the Heisman this year. I think that LSU season, it's going to be defined by the Nuss Bus and how he performs week in and week out. I think Brian Kelly's going to put his job on Garrett Nussmeier's shoulders. Nussmeier, I think he's an NFL guy. I think he's going to be great in the NFL, top 5 pick next year, and it's huge that he's coming back and making an SEC championship appearance, making the playoff. I think that warrants him winning the Heisman. I think he just puts up video game numbers all season long. I'm very excited to watch him. He's a fun guy to watch. Throws a pretty ball. As long as his offensive line protects him, I think the sky's the limit for him passing the ball. So I have Nussmeier winning the Heisman. My finalist, top left there, I got Jeremiah Love at Notre Dame. He's another one. This team's going to be built through Jeremiah Love week in and week out, whether it's through on the ground or, throwing the ball to him. He can do both. If he stays healthy, I think he's going to be in New York at the end of the season. Jeremiah Smith, Ohio State, he's going to be in New York in the next 2 years, and he's going to win it at least one, I think. He's the best player in college football. He's probably going to end up being the best receiver of our lifetime in college football when it's all said and done. And if I'm Ohio State this year with a starting quarterback, year one starting quarterback, first time ever starting, I'm throwing it. When we throw the ball, we're going to Jeremiah Smith. He's that guy. He's like Waffle House. He's always open. The other guy I have is Cade Klubnik. Something about me with Clemson this year, I'm just not sold on it yet. I think we need to pump the brakes a little bit on Clemson, as well as the Cade Klubnik. I don't know what they've done to prove that they're going to be this team, this world beater team that comes in and runs through teams like Georgia, LSU, Ohio State, Penn State. I don't know where that's coming from at all. I don't know what didn't they lose at home to South Carolina last year? Didn't that happen? But apparently, you lose at home to your arch rival, and then all of a sudden you're going to win the national championship. So, but I do think Cade Klubnik.
Just a question. Yeah. What year is it again?
It's
not 2024 anymore, man.
Okay.
Get him.
But I'm just saying. I just don't see what. Okay, but what have they done to earn the hype they've got? This is Heisman talk, but that's the question I'll ask real quick.
For me,
what has Cade Klubnik done to earn the hype he's getting over Garrett Nussmeier and Drew Aller? And so, what is it? Because he lost at home to Shane Beamer last year.
Yeah, but all right. I think that they had another year of development with those guys, and if you watch, okay, I know that I just made the whole point about not going back to last year, but you watched the playoff game from last year, and they played solid, not great, but they played solid.
They had the ball in a one-possession game in the red zone against Texas with a chance to tie. That was more than a solid performance for a team that was very young and struggled for most of the regular season. They have shown nothing but growth every year that Cade Klubnik has been there. They found 3 really good receivers. They have 2 really good running backs, and they have a freaking coach that's been there and done it before. Continue on with something else besides Cade Klubnik.
Cade Klubnik's one of my finalists, just because I feel like I have to put him there. Everybody's doing it. Come back and talk to me when they go 9-3 and miss the playoff in December. My last finalist, I'm going out on a limb here. Dark horse guy. I've been talking about him in the Vibes episode, talked about him in the Big 12 preview. Sam Levitt. He's one. I don't think a lot of people are talking about him just because everybody's freaking out about the loss of Cam Scatterbo. And I think that as a passer last year and with his legs, he was a great playmaker. He almost took down Texas. And with Jordan Tyson healthy, a bunch of returning guys on offense, I think he's going to be there. It's my long shot pick to be there. And then my honorable mentions, I'd like to mention that Hunter decided to take both of my picks for honorable mention. That was great. I love the love from Hunter. Yeah, but I'll let him talk about those guys. But I have Lenore Sellers and Josh Hoover. Lenore Sellers, this guy's electric. He's fun to watch. He went in and beat Clemson last year, if you haven't heard already. And then I have Josh Hoover. I'm very high on TCU. I almost flipped my Big 12 to have TCU win it. I'm all in on Sonny Dykes and the Horned Frogs this year. I think they're going to be great, and their win total is way too low, 6.5. I think Josh Hoover goes for like 3,500, 3,600 yards and a bunch of touchdown passes, throw the ball around the yard. So, yeah, those are my Heisman guys this year.
Good stuff, Jake. I'll go next. I got, Cade Klubnik winning the Heisman Trophy this year. I think Cade Klubnik has shown exponential growth every year he's been there. This will be his third year under Garrett Riley, his offensive coordinator. He has another year of developed wide receivers. His top three all come back. I think Clemson has a very, very good talent roster. They're going to be playing in the ACC, where the gap, I think, is larger than what people want to make it out to be. Therefore, I think he's going to have a great season. I think he's going to have a career year, and I think the numbers won't lie. I think there's going to be plenty of games where he puts up great numbers, completion percentage, yardages, touchdowns, everything that you need for a Heisman Trophy type of season. Whereas some of these other guys in the SEC, I think it's going to be a little bit more balanced. The competition level is going to be a lot more narrow. You're going to see more 9-3, 10-2, where I see Clemson winning 11 games, potentially 12 games. So I think winning is just as much of a valuable stat. Finalist, I have Arch Manning. It's because his last name's Manning. I'm just going to be completely honest. I don't think Arch Manning's going to have a superstar year for Texas to be successful. One, I also don't think he's going to have a superstar year to be a finalist for the Heisman Trophy, just based off his last name and the brand of Texas. So therefore, I have him in New York as a finalist. John Moneyline Mateer in the Oklahoma Sooners. Yes, I have John Mateer. If you listen to our SEC preview, you know what I think about him. I think he's a great addition to Oklahoma. I think he finds his way to New York. Jeremiah Smith there in the bottom left. Like Jake mentioned earlier, I think he is going to be the offense for Ohio State. Don't get me wrong. Like, they got Carnell Tate, and they probably got about 6 freshman wide receiver that are all 5 stars that we're going to figure out who they are throughout the year this year. But Jeremiah Smith is the name that everybody knows. I think they are going to find creative ways to get him the football, whether it be jet sweeps, screen passes. It's not going to be all downfield shots for him. They just know they got to get this guy the ball. And what a better security blanket for Julian Say and a first-year quarterback to have. Like Jake said, he spoke very highly of him. I think he's going to be one of the best receivers of our lifetime for college football. And finally, it would not be fair if I didn't put Garrett Nussmeier on this list. He's the guy I'm second highest on to win this award, just based off of how he did last year. He's in the SEC. He's going to be playing in a lot of primetime games, a lot of eyes on him. However, I just don't think LSU wins enough games. I think they lose a late one at the end of the year, and he's going to come up just short, but I think he's going to be a great NFL prospect. I think he's a great college football player. My honorable mentions, I got Damon Williams at Washington, which, as y'all know, I got Washington making the playoffs. So if Washington makes the playoff this year, it'd be hard not to have him as a Heisman finalist, but I'm pretty sure they only take 5. And I think Washington's a more balanced attack than what some people might think, with a great running back. Then they got Denzel Boston at wide receiver. So I think he'd probably finish in the top 10 of voting, but I wouldn't be surprised. He is plus 10,000 odds. Throw $10 on that to win 1,000. I wouldn't know that. Of course, I would never do such a thing. And then we got Carson Beck, who I know Jake is also very high on. Jake's not lying. You know, in the Vibes episode, I had Damon Williams as my player to watch. He did have Carson Beck. Carson Beck and Garrett Nussmeier had very similar stats last year, and it's kind of crazy. Like I said, I think the star power is too much based off primetime games and name recognition and things of that nature. So that's why I have him just missing out. But considering he plays at Miami, he's playing ACC defenses every week. But with that comes not as many eyes on top of you. But I also don't think Miami has the same guys on offense to be as successful as such a Clemson. But they are pretty close. I'm expecting a fantastic year out of all 7 of these guys that I have on my screen. So, and I definitely don't have a Heisman future on 5 or 6 of those 7 people or anything. Tyler, talk to me about Garrett Nussmeier and your Heisman finalist. Looks pretty chalk.
Yeah, so I am pretty chalk with all these picks tonight, but I have Garrett Nussmeier winning the Heisman. I think he is probably the best quarterback in the country. I know Jake kind of just covered him, so I'll keep it short. But I, like Jake was saying, I think that that LSU is going to be riding on his shoulders. So he's going to get a lot of opportunities to make plays, and with that comes stats, and that's going to look really good. And not kind of like it's already been said, but I think winning helps you in this case. And I think LSU is going to be really good. I think they're going to be a playoff team, a top 4 seed. So I think Garrett Nussmeier does have the edge in the Heisman race. My finalist, Arch Manning, kind of the same reasons as Hunter. His last name, Texas, is going to be good, and he'll be the best. He'll be the guy for Texas. So I think that he gets to New York. Jeremiah Smith, again, been covered, but he's going to be one of the better players that we ever watch play the wide receiver position. So I've got him getting to New York this year as well. Klubnik, again, same thing. I mean, this is it. I'm beating a dead horse. Clemson's going to be good. He's going to have a lot of opportunities, a lot of statistics, and that's why he's going to be in New York. And Drew Aller, same reason. I mean, I'm beating a dead. I really am beating a dead horse, but he's going to have a lot of opportunities to make plays. They are going to be a very good team. I think they're going to be the number 1 team in the country. Drew Aller is a good football player himself. He's had plenty of time to develop. So I've got him making it to New York. My honorable mention is Jeremiah Love. He's a very good running back, probably one of the best, if not the best in the country. I think that once he has another year to develop even more, is he a sophomore or junior this year?
I think he's a junior.
Junior, okay. Well, if he stays another year, I think there's potential that he could win the whole damn thing next year because another year to develop, that's going to be scary for that guy. Jeremiah Love, he's a great player. He's a great running back. We've seen him make play after play after play. I kind of like what Hunter said, they only take 5. But I think that he is going to be right there in the mix. So I like him for being in the race down to the wire.
Good stuff, man. 3 things. 1, Drew Aller, he might get it just because he's the best quarterback on the number 1 team. We saw it last year with Dylan Gabriel. We saw it with Stetson Bennett. Probably shouldn't have been Heisman finalist, but
the numbers were there for Dylan Gabriel though, rather than Stetson.
Yeah,
for sure.
But still, we knew they could have taken 3 last year, but they took him. Jake, I like your Sam Levitt pull. Not really somebody that I thought off the top of my head. I think that's actually a really good pull, man. There's a good
interesting factor. You know what the number is on Sam Levitt to win the Heisman?
No, but I'm sure you do.
It's plus 2,000. You would think that it's way longer odds than that.
I don't know.
So here's what that tells me is I'm going to have a good wager on that, and I think he's going to be there. I'm all in on it.
There you go. My last thing is next year. This is going to be a two horse race, and we all 3 have these 2 guys on here. Well, Jake doesn't. Arch Manning's going to come back for his senior year. And Jeremiah Smith is literally forced by rules of the NFL and the NCAA to come back. Those two players next year will be – it won't matter who else is there. It will be one of those two players. It's crazy because I think that they're both going to be finalists this year, and then next year they both will be finalists, barring injury, of course, and one of them will win it. Just wanted to throw that in there. I think next year's Arch's year. Win totals, something we like to do every year. I tried to focus on teams that we didn't normally cover, except for one. I saw Tyler put under 7.5 for Oklahoma, so I originally had Washington in that spot, and Jake had Washington, so I was like, oh, well, I'm going to go over on Oklahoma. If you listen to the SEC preview, if you saw my playoff bracket, that's self-explanatory. Over 5.5 at minus 132 for the Southern Miss Golden Eagles, also known as Marshall of the South. My boy Charles Huff took the entire Thundering Herd from West Virginia, bring them down to Hattiesburg, Mississippi. You're trying to tell me that they are at 5.5? Like that's bowl game type stuff. I think this team might be playing in the Sun Belt Championship game. They won the Sun Belt last year at Marshall. It's the same team, just in a different uniform. Give me the Golden Eagles. Shout out the Sun Belt. Iowa, Mark Gronkowski. They finally got a quarterback. That defense nails, as always. Special teams. Best punter in the nation. Best white guy returner in the nation. I don't even know their names. I just know it's facts because it's Iowa football. They're going to be the top 5 team at home this year, whether it's Penn State, Oregon. Somebody's going down in Kinnick Stadium in front of the Children's Hospital. Kirk Ferentz wins at least 8 games this year, plus 120. Pittsburgh, Eli Holstein, Pat Narduzzi. You know what you're getting out of them. You're going to get between 8 to 6 wins every year. I'll meet you in the middle at 7. How about that? Eli Holstein, underrated quarterback. Tyler Vaughn had him mentioned in the ACC preview. Give me the Pitt Panthers to go over 6.5. And then at 5.5, minus 140, give me the Michigan State Spartans. Jonathan Smith made Oregon State relevant with DJ Uiagalelei in the same conference that Michael Penix, Bo Nix, and Caleb Williams were playing in. Yeah, give me Jonathan Smith and Aiden Childs to make a bowl game this year. Over 5.5 for Sparty. And I think they're going to be one of those teams where it's like, gosh, this team's a thorn in our side. And when I say that, I'm not saying they're going to pull off any crazy upsets, but it might be like, this team won't go away. We can't put them away. And I think they'll win 1 or 2 of those games. If they just can't get put away, they'll come back, they'll win. Sparty makes a bowl game over 5.5.
Good stuff, Hunter. Very interesting picks there. I kind of went with the teams that we talked about a bunch, so I'll keep it kind of short. I'm going to start at the far right with my 2 playoff teams sitting there, Washington and Illinois. I know I have them in my playoff notes at 10-2. I don't see a world where neither of these teams get to 8 wins with their schedule. I really don't, and the teams and the coach that they have. So give me both of them to go over 7.5 wins. Utah and TCU, both coming out of the Big 12. They round off my Big 12 this year. I think in the end, it's going to come down to Utah, TCU, and Arizona State in the Big 12, those 3 teams at the top. So that means it's probably going to be Texas Tech, Kansas, and Kansas State at the top of the Big 12, knowing that's just how it goes with that conference. But I think those win totals are way too low, especially Utah. Utah could legitimately go 11-1.
Jake, it's going to come down to Colorado, Houston, and Cincinnati, brother. Come on.
Utah, I think that they win 10 games. I really do. Their schedule sets up very nicely for it. Their defense is going to be stout. Devin Dampier, we've talked about him like crazy. Even in other conference previews, his name's gotten brought up. Very excited to watch him in that offense. TCU, like I said a few moments ago, very high on Sonny Dykes and the boys this year. And then my favorite win total of them all, the Kentucky Wildcats. And I had to pull up their schedule for this. I got them going under 4.5 wins. I just don't see a world where there's 5 wins. There's no freaking way. Week 1.
Dude, they might lose to Toledo week 1.
That's what I'm saying. They got Toledo, and they're only favored by a touchdown. Sneaky spot. They got Toledo week 1 at home. I'll give them that one. There's one. Next week, Ole Miss comes to town. Ole Miss ain't losing to Kentucky 2 years in a row. That's just not happening. Eastern Michigan, week 3. We'll give them that one. So they're at 2 through 3 weeks. Then they travel to South Carolina. That's a loss. They travel to Georgia. That's a loss. Texas comes to town. Tennessee comes to town. At Auburn. Florida comes to town. Tennessee Tech at home. I'll give them that one. We're up to 3 now. Travel to Vanderbilt. Travel to Louisville to cap off the season. I think 3 wins. I'll give them 3. The 4th is going to be tough. I could see it being one of the home games against maybe Tennessee, depending on what they look like, or maybe Florida, depending on Lagway's health and the gauntlet of a schedule that they play. Florida plays, and then traveling to Vandy. Diego Piss and Pavi ain't losing at home this year, boys. It's just not happening. And even if they do rattle off one of those, that's still 4. So they're going to have to really realistically beat Vanderbilt. That's the worst team after the G5 teams. And then you mean to tell me they're going to go on the road and beat Louisville? They're going to go on the road, Jordan Hare, and beat Auburn, beat Florida at home, travel and beat South Carolina. It's just not happening. There's no way. That is my favorite pick of the 2025 season. Kentucky, Big Blue, under 4.5 wins.
Shout out Diego Pissin Pavia. Didn't get brought up enough. However, I said Toledo might beat Kentucky. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibilities.
That might be the upset watch of Podcast 129's first upset watch of the year.
They did go into Starkville last year and drop like 50 on Mississippi State. And speaking of Mississippi State, how about Southern Miss at home against Mississippi State to open the year, plus 320 on that ML? Don't mind if I do. That's an upset watch on my radar. Give me the Golden Eagles.
I can't wait to preview week 1. This is awesome.
Dude, we're talking about MAC and Sunbelt ball right now. That's how you know we're there, fellas.
Tyler, tell us about your win totals.
Yeah, so first, I'm taking Penn State over 10.5 wins. I know that is kind of a crazy thing to take, especially with that win total being so high. But like I've said multiple times throughout these previews, I think that they are going to be 12-0 and realistically 13-0 going into the playoffs. So I've got them over their win total. Next, I have Indiana because I think that this is a very interesting win total. I have them going 9-3. So if I were to bet on this, I would take the over. But this is one that I wouldn't touch, and that's why I put it on here because there's no telling. I think that they're going to be right around 8-9 games. So that's one that I wouldn't touch. I just thought it was interesting because I think they're going to be – I think that they have hit the nail on the head with setting that line. Next, Cincinnati, I have them going 2-10, so I will be taking their under. I think Cincinnati is a god-awful football team. I don't think that they're going to win very many games. So take the under there. LSU, I have them 11-1. Take the over. I mean, I think the 8.5 is a little low for them. So I will be taking the over there. Not very good odds, but if I throw some money on it, I would take the over. And then my dear friends over in Norman, Oklahoma, take the under. They're going to go 6-6, not 10-2 or 11-1 like my two friends here think that they will. I'm taking the under on Oklahoma. I don't think they're going to be a very good football team. Another average year in Norman. So I'm taking the under there. So, yeah.
At the end of this year, folks aren't going to be talking about Michigan versus Ohio State or Auburn versus Alabama. They're going to be talking about Hunter Waldrop versus Tyler Vaughn about the Oklahoma Sooners entering 2025. And last but not least, how could we not have a Prize Picks entry for some player props? I don't know if we can read this too clearly on the screen, but that's why we got it enlarged on mine. First up, this was Tyler Vaughn's pick 1, Arch Manning to go over 24.5 passing touchdowns. My first pick, Jeremiah Smith. Jeremiah, fast money on the rise Smith, according to Gus Johnson, to go over 12.5 receiving touchdowns. Then we got Jake Stinchcomb going with Jaden Ott, running back at Oklahoma, to rush for over 625 yards. Tyler Vaughn, Jeremiah Love to rush for over 1,150 yards. How about him? There we go. My next pick sorry, Jake, took him from you. We got Carson Beck at Miami. I mentioned earlier he's playing against the ACC. He's got the arm talent. I think he throws for over 2,800 yards, about 2,900 yards. I think he does great at Miami. Not going to go with touchdowns for the quarterback. I'm going to go with the yards there. And then last but not least, Jake Stinchcom's pick. He's been glazing the TCU Horned Frogs all game or all episode. He's got Josh Hoover, the quarterback, throwing for over 3,100 yards this year. So put that in your pipe and smoke it. Jake, close us out, brother.
Yes, sir. We appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll be back later this week for Week 0 preview. We're finally here. You can find this episode on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. Make sure when you watch us on YouTube to hit that subscribe button, like it, comment on our video. We appreciate you guys. We'll see you next time for Week 0, baby. It's time.
God first and God bless. Thank you all.